All right, let's dive into something we all have, but we probably don't think about it nearly enough, our skeleton. And what we're going to find out is that it's way, way more alive than you might think. So, let me ask you a question. When you picture your own skeleton, what pops into your head? Is it just this dry, static frame? Like something you'd see hanging in a science classroom, totally inert and unchanging? Well, if that's the image you've got, get ready for a pretty major paradigm shift. Because the truth is, your skeleton is more like a bustling, dynamic construction site that's in a constant state of being torn down and rebuilt from the inside out. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the plans. To really understand this incredible internal construction site, we have to start with the blueprint. I mean, what are our bones actually made of? Okay, so at its most basic level, bone is a composite material. About 65% of it is made of these inorganic mineral elements, and that's what gives it its hardness. But the other 35%, that's this fascinating organic matrix, and that's where the living part of our story really kicks off. And what's so brilliant is how these two parts work together. The organic matrix, which is mostly a protein called collagen, it provides what's called tensile strength. Think of it like flexibility. It's the steel rebar in a building. Then you've got the inorganic part, a mineral called hydroxyapatite, which provides compressive strength. That's the hardness, like concrete. You put them together, and you get a material that's both incredibly strong and surprisingly resilient. So who's actually running this constriction site? Well, let's meet the bone crew. The three specialized cells that are doing all the heavy lifting of building and maintaining your skeleton, day in and day out. First up, we've got the osteoblast. This is your master builder. Its whole job is to spin up that organic matrix, that collagen scaffolding we talked about, and then mineralize it, basically turning that flexible tissue into hard, solid bone. Now, every good construction site needs a demolition crew, right? And in our bones, that's the osteoclast. These are these huge, powerful cells, and they are absolute masters of something called bone resorption, which is just a fancy way of saying they dissolve and clear out old or damaged bone to make way for the new stuff. And finally, we have the site supervisor, the osteocyte. Now, these guys are pretty cool. They're actually former osteoblasts, the builders, who basically got trapped in the very matrix they were creating. From their little embedded positions, they act as these incredibly smart sensors, detecting all the stress and strain on the bone and telling the builders and the demo crews exactly where they need to get to work. Okay, so here's a fascinating plot twist in our whole construction story. You'd think the powerful demolition crew, the osteoclasts, would just go wherever they please, right? But it turns out they actually take their marching orders from the builders. So how does this chain of command actually work? It's pretty wild. See, hormones don't talk to the demolition crew directly. Instead, they give the order to the builders, the osteoblasts. Those activated builders then release special signals that tell the demolition crew, the osteoclasts, where and when to start breaking things down. So in short, the builders are really the ones in charge of the whole operation. Okay, so we've got the materials and we've met the crew. Let's move on to the finished structure and see what kinds of bone they're actually building. On a microscopic level, the crew builds two basic types of bone. First, there's woven bone. That's where the collagen fibers are just kind of thrown together randomly. It's a bit weaker, but it forms really fast, so you see it in fetal skeletons and when a fracture is healing. But later, this gets replaced by the much stronger, much more organized lamellar bone, where all the collagen is laid down in these neat parallel sheets. All of your adult bone is this mature lamellar type. And this mature bone comes in two main flavors. You've got cortical bone, that's the super dense hard outer shell that gives bone its strength. And then on the inside, there's cancellous bone, this lighter sponge-like tissue that's full of little spaces. If we look at a typical long bone, like in your arm or leg, you can see this whole design in action. The diaphysis, which is the shaft, is made of that super strong cortical bone, but the ends are filled with that spongy, cancellous bone, which it turns out is where most of the action happens. The metaphysis, in particular, is an absolute hotspot for all that building and remodeling activity. And this brings us to the grand finale of our story, where all these different pieces, the materials, the crew, the structures, they all come together in this one dynamic, lifelong process, the never-ending remodel. So this entire cycle, the demolition crew clearing out old bone, the builders laying down new bone, all of it directed by those supervisors, that whole process is called remodeling. It's literally happening inside you right now, constantly adapting your skeleton to the stresses of your life, repairing tiny bits of damage, and even regulating calcium levels in your body. And just how active is this process? Get this. That spongy cancellous bone might only be about 20% of your skeleton's total mass, but it accounts for a staggering 70 to 80% of all the remodeling activity. It just goes to show you, the inside of your bones is one of the busiest places in your entire body. So, your skeleton is so much more than just a static frame. It's a living, intelligent organ. It's this hidden world of builders and demolishers and supervisors, all constantly working to rebuild you from the inside out. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible secrets are our bodies hiding in plain sight?